But can we talk about Biden's mental state to go back to this neurons firing thing?
I've been wanting to talk about his mental state for a while. Yes.
Well, now you get to. This is from AL.com. Biden confuses Tuskegee Airmen with syphilis study victims in explaining COVID vaccine reluctance. What?
Oh my!
This is the perfect storm of Biden's brain just breaking on TV, because not only were people like, yo, that's like really racist for more than one reason. He was like saying that Latinx people and minorities don't want to get vaccinated because they're scared. And he's like, remember the Tuskegee Airmen? And it's like, oh, dude.
Oh, no. Stop.
Tuskegee Airmen.
Okay. Let's slow down for a minute. The Tuskegee Airmen are heroes. Didn't Trump present an award to one like a couple years ago?
So yeah, recently.
He like stood up and then like everyone was cheering for this guy. They're amazing heroes. The Tuskegee syphilis experiments were horrifying acts where the government basically told people they were being treated for their disease, but they were just being watched die. These are people who could have been treated. The guy was like, yeah, but we want to see what happens if we don't treat them, so we'll just keep giving them placebos. Joe Biden. Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the story.
Bob Dole.
Check us out. Let me read a little bit. Okay. Joe Biden is drawing criticism for comments he made that mixed up the Tuskegee Airmen, a heroic group of African-American World War II pilots, with victims of an infamous Alabama syphilis study. Speaking on the reluctance of some people to get COVID-19 vaccines, Biden said it was harder to get African-Americans initially vaccinated because it used to be that they experimented on them, the Tuskegee Airmen and others. Wow. I just want to say, like, all right, look, I understand Biden's not all with it. My bigger concern is remember when he was doing the thing at the G7 where he said Libya instead of Syria over and over again? Could you imagine if he's like sitting there in front of Putin and he's like, if you want the sanctions lifted, you got to get out of Libya. And Putin goes, okay. Deal.
Done.
Signs it, hands it over, and then like Syria blows up. Whatever. That's the problem with him not speaking properly. Now, in this instance, it's more of a facepalm where he literally accused these heroic World War II pilots of being syphilitic men who are used by the government in an experiment.
People are gonna think it's true now too for their whole lives.
Oh yeah, yep. There are a lot of people. This is the crazy thing who they heard him say it, and it's like we were just talking about with the media.
Yes.
That when the NYC election thing happens, and this guy Eric Adams is legit like, hey, this looks wrong. The media attacks him like crazy. How many people heard Biden say that and they're like, that's right, the Tuskegee Airmen had syphilis.
I think this is more like the Mandela effect we were talking about last night, because now he's interjected this idea.
We skip timelines. It really was the Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah. Biden actually is the only one that knows.
He's the dimensional shift.
It's going to be like 30 years and someone's going to be like on a podcast, which is like virtual reality or something. And they're like, don't you remember that experiment with the Tuskegee Airmen where they were given syphilis? And they're like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It never happened.
Dude, it was like, dude, it wasn't the Airmen. They'll be, yeah.
According to Snopes.com, it was actually a CDC experiment. Whoa. Dude, I remember though.
Dude, my great-grandfather served in the Tuskegee Airmen.
My great-grandfather?
Yeah. In the future, that's what they'll say.
In the future, I just want to like, look, syphilis is an STD, right? Like these are so the study was like people who got the STD went to get treatment, and the government was like, yeah, we're going to give you free healthcare, and then didn't treat them and just let them slowly die. Like, it's kind of I'm not trying to rag on people who contract illnesses or anything like that, but like, to look at this photo of these like heroic World War II pilots and then Joe Biden to accidentally say they all had syphilis.
Yikes.
That's like a brutal thing to say about these guys.
Yeah. He owes their family some reparations.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's
completely
slander.
Agree.
Reparations.
That's fair.
David E. Martin, in a talk he gave at the Free and Brave conference, gets into the actual story with the right, Tuskegee experiment. So,
I have it. This is interesting. I just pulled it from the CDC.gov, and what they say about it. And we were just before the show. I had pulled up the original reporting, which they have here as well. They say in 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service, with the Tuskegee Institute, began a study to record the natural history of syphilis. They say the study initially involved 600 black men, 399 with syphilis, 201 who did not have the disease. Participants' informed consent was not collected. Researchers told the men they were being treated for bad blood. a local term to describe several ailments, including syphilis, anemia, fatigue. In exchange for taking part in the study, the men received free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. Think about that.
Whoa.
They were like, yeah, we'll take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure will.
And then, like, we'll pay for it when you die. They mentioned that by 1943, penicillin was a treatment of choice for syphilis, becoming widely available, but the participants were not offered treatment. The U.S. government knew they could save the lives of these men, but the CDC and the U.S. Public Health Service were like, let's watch them die and see what we can, we'll write it down.
Definitely garnered a lot of data, I'm sure. And, David E. Martin, who I was just mentioning, did say that the CDC, and I haven't actually gone to verify this, but apparently started with studying why malaria kills some people and not others. It's really like trying to understand plagues, which makes sense for the greater story of the CDC. But it is kind of interesting. And David E. Martin, this was a talk where he was talking about life insurance companies and what we're experiencing now as being a life insurance illiquidity event. I'll have to look that one up.
Well, there's commercials where they're like, we will buy your life insurance. Struggling financially? Sell us your life insurance.
Reverse mortgages. Are you old and going to die? We'll take your house from your children.
Yeah. Well, he was saying 30-year mortgages when that really started. Like what 30-year cycles happen in nature? He was like, nothing natural. It was the life expectancy of when a blue-collar worker could buy a home to when he would die. So you can pay off the mortgage by the time that the bank can foreclose on the house. This is pretty, he's going deep and he's very hyperbolic when he's talking about these things. But what I like about looking at these things and then going and skating and hashing it out in my mind is not all of it is bunk. Like some of it makes you look deeper into history and be like, I did not know that about the CDC.
Do you know what mortgage means? Mortgage?
Dead, like a corpse.
Death deal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the root word.
Or if you look it up, it says pledge. So death pledge.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Like why are we taking out death pledges with banks?
Right.
That's weird.
I've even heard of the same thing with like corporations, Marine Corps, the way you actually spell that.
Corp.
Yeah.
Corpus.
Well, this was actually in one of my films, Ungripped. That was all about, it got into maritime admiralty law and legalese, how the name of a lot of these things, it sounds like you're talking English, but you're actually not. These have alternative meanings. Like,
yeah.
The Latin is corporare, meaning combine in one body.
Body, yeah.
So maybe
body.
Maybe corp was the body, and
not a dead body.
Not
but
a dead body.
Okay,
it'd be like Mort Corp or something.
Yeah, Mort Corp.
Sign me up.
That's the name of my death metal band.
That's awesome. I like that.
Dead bodies.
Mort Corp.
I like that you brought up admiralty law. I think something not a lot of people know about is that there's civil law and admiralty law.
There's a whole bunch, and they all seem to go back to ecclesiastical law, according to my friend who did this film. And it's an interesting thing. If you are in a certain form of law in court, according to my friend, White Walking Feather, who Robin the Paget family, he said you can pull it back to earlier forms of law. And he would always, when he was in court for not having a driver's license and he gave up his birth certificate and all those things, he would get pulled into court and he would bring it back to ecclesiastical law, where they had to recognize him as flesh and blood rather than a legal fiction.
Like before the Social Security cards were invented.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've kind of corporatized law, or I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like I'm fascinated with admiralty law. That's like the law of the sea. They say like you're birthed when you arrive in a port, and you come onto the land as a fresh, citizen or whatever you are.
Human resource as well, because that number on the back of your birth certificate is in a human resource database rather than like some kind of medical database, which makes sense. I see a lot of people that they draw different things from all this. And like, to me, I feel like we've been moving into this managed. You mentioned like when Bill Gates was talking, he said like, he used the word management, population management. That word, we'll talk about more of that in the after.
Well, but
section.
we can say this. There's the conspiracy theory is that Bill Gates is like, I'm going to kill all these people, when he's actually saying, I want to make sure these people don't exist. And that's the acceptable mainstream TED Talk. Bill Gates, there's this article from Reuters. It's a fact check. They're like, Bill Gates did not say he wanted to wipe out 50% of the population. What he said was, we want to prevent 15% of population growth.
Right.
So it's interesting that it's mainstream and acceptable to be like, if the people don't exist in the first place, we're good.
Can somebody verify real quick? Because, I mean, I watch a lot of media, and sometimes I keep an info in the back of my head, and I'm just like, I don't know. But his parents, Bill Gates' parents, anyone familiar? Planned Parenthood?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll
I don't want to dive I don't want to dive too deep into that. But the whole idea about management is what I'm talking about with, like, where we're kind of headed with data proliferation and data aggregators, and everything is data now. Your medical data is being shared in ways that people are starting to argue about, but like where we're heading through this entire process that the world is going through right now is a lot more about management. And you'll hear people like Alison McDowell, who I recommend everybody go check out wrenchinthegears.com. Alison McDowell is putting together how a lot of these dots connect, and she's saying a lot of it is poverty management for the coming 5, 6, 7, 8 years and beyond.
That's what Bill Gates called his poverty management.
Management.
And that includes reducing population growth. I want to mention this just real quick. Like, if you speak French, you know that mortgage means death pledge. I don't quite understand why we call it that. That's not
horrific.
Yeah, I know. Like a death pledge.
Death pledge. That's a better name for a death metal band.
That's
Death Pledge or Mort Corp.
Yeah.
Mort Corp.
Mort Corp will be the first album.
Yeah.
Not actually Latin, though. Anyway, I looked it up. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.